Hi guys, welcome back to Ferris Tutorials. In today's episode we'll be looking at CSEC Food Nutrition and Health, and we're exploring section 7, which is entitled Food Management, Preparation and Service. Specifically, we'll be exploring food preparation skills. We'll be looking at all the subtopics that are outlined for food preparation skills and also CSEC Past Paper Questions that are based on these topics. Want to find out more? Stay tuned! CSEC Past Paper Questions for the topic Food Preparation Skills. Now, before I take you through the past paper questions under this topic, I just want to introduce you to the different content areas that fall under this particular topic so that you'll have a better understanding of what to study for as it relates to food preparation skills, right? I do believe that it has about 9 to 10 topics. There's a lot of content for us to cover. I don't want it to get flustered, but just to show you the different areas that you should study on so that you're better able to answer whatever question in whatever form it may come, right? And the first content that you have here to cover under this area is what? Demonstrating basic food preparation skills, which includes, so you should know the difference between measuring and weighing, types of knife skills such as slicing, julienne, chopping, cubing, dicing, things like paring, grating, stirring, folding, whipping, mixing, creaming, rubbing in, kneading, and also blending, right? Now, as it relates to the second topic, which is preparation and service of various flour mixes, you should be able to define what is gluten and also to explain the formation of gluten as well as the development of gluten strands in different flour mixes, good, or flour mixtures. You should also know the different types of flour used in different flour products. Now, for the third topic, there is preparing and serving cakes. And you should know the different methods of cake making, such as the rubbed in method, creaming, whisking, all in one. Also the functions of the main ingredients using cake making. Terms used in cake making such as sieve, cream, whisk, fold, and curdle. Steps and precaution for each method, as well as faults and remedies in cake making as well. Now let us look at the next topic. It is decorating cakes. So we look at the types of cake decorations and their uses, choosing suitable decorations for different types of cakes. Also, there is preparing and serving of pastry, and we're talking about sweet and savory items as well. The different types of pastries that we should know of are short crust and also rough puff. And we should be knowledgeable of the proportion of fat to flour used for each type of pastry. For instance, you know, for short crust, it is what? Half fat to flour. So if we're using, say, 800 grams of flour, you know that it would be half of that for fat. So it would be 400 grams of fat for the 800 grams of flour, right? As well as the variations of short crust pastry. Terms used in pastry making such as bake blind, rubbing in as well, roll and fold. Functions of the main ingredients used, as well as the faults and remedies in pastry making. There's also preparing and serving quick breads. You should know the definition of quick breads, the different classification of batters. Good. As it relates to quick bread, so you know we have butters and also doughs. Another topic also, guys, is preparing and serving yeast products. So we speak of sweet yeast products and also savory yeast products, right? the use of also herbs, vegetables, cheese, and meat in these products, steps on precautions, function of main ingredients as well, and also the terms that are associated with yeast products such as scald, knead, knockdown, proof, fermentation, faults and remedies in yeast products as well. Also another topic, preparing and serving butters. You must know the different types of butter, such as the thin, coating, and fritter butter. Definition and also uses of the main ingredients, right? There's also the topic, preparing and serving of soups, such as broths, thickened soups, and also purees. You should know definition. Some key ingredients such as bouquet garni, mirepoix, and also general guidelines and standards for the finished products and their service. There is also preparation and serving of sauces. Good. So you must know the classification of sauces and their uses, definition of terms such as roux, puree, panda, mornay. Good. And also the steps and precautions for making a roux sauce, or say white, mornay, a thickened sauce, a sauce thickened by emulsification. Good. And the next topic, preparing and serving desserts using a variety of products, principles underlining cooking different kinds of cereals and cereal products, preparing and serving vegetables, so the classification, the importance of salad, the different parts of a salad, right? And also using various methods of cooking to include conservative method as it relates to cooking vegetables. Good. And the final set of topics, where there is also herbs and spices that falls under food preparation skills. We did a tutorial on that recently, so you can go ahead and watch it if you haven't checked it out as yet. Preparing and serving combination dishes using eggs, milk, and cheese. Good. General rules for eggs, milk, and cheese cookery. Also, preparing and serving meats using dry and moist heat methods of cooking. Preparing and serving fish using dry and moist heat method of cooking. And finally, preparation and serving of sandwiches. So you must know the definition, the different components, the different types of sandwiches, and also suitable sandwich fillings. Good. Now I know it's a lot. It sounds like it's a lot. Don't get flustered. I know many of you have been asking me for videos for food preparation skills, and maybe now you know why you haven't seen a video as yet, because you know that this area, it has about 10 topics, and we're talking about 10 detailed topics. Good. So when we see food preparation skills on the study guide, it's a lot, guys, but never fear, don't worry, right? So if some of these things are new to you, don't get flustered, right? Now what I'll be taking you to shortly is to some past paper questions based on some of these topics, right? And I believe we go from 2019 to the furthest is 2009, because we're trying to get as much question as possible from this section, because as you can see, it is wide. So it touched on cake making, pastry making, quick breads, vegetable cookery, meat cookery, eggs, milk, cheese, herbs and spices, yeast breads. Good. Just to name a few, and some techniques as it relates to knife skills as well. All right. Now that we have looked at the outline, we're going to now look at the past paper questions that governs some of these topics. So we won't see everything that we just outlined now, but we will see quite a few of the questions testing a variety of areas under this big topic, food preparation skills. All right. Now let's begin, and we're starting with the year, the most current year, 2019, right? Now the question reads, outline the preparation and service of a one-pot dish using any 3 of the following foods. And this question is worth what? 6 marks. Good. So there is rice, root vegetables, meat, poultry and seafood, and also vegetables. Good. Now when we speak of root vegetables, we're speaking of those that what? Grow on the ground. So we may think of starchy vegetable too, such as yam and potatoes, or we may even think of carrots, beetroot, etc. Right? Now what I have here, suggestions, I have what? Is seasoned rice, soups, or stews, right? Now it is very important for us to understand that the question is asking for a one-pot dish. What does a one-pot dish mean? It simply means that all the ingredients have to be cooked in one pot. Good? So no boiling the rice and then moving it to a skillet to create, say, fried rice. None of that. So one pot, guys, as I said before, means all your ingredients, all the food item, all the components that you're going to use. So you're required to use 3. So all the ingredients that you prepare in your dish must be cooked in a single pot. Let's get that clear. Whenever you see a question that asks for a one-pot meal, it may be a casserole. Make sure everything is cooking there. No matter the cooking equipment or utensil, whether it be a saucepan, a skillet, a Pyrex dish, or a casserole dish, please ensure that if it's a one pot, all of your items are cooked in that particular container. Good? All right. Now, what you'll be marked for, you may be wondering, how am I going to get this 6 marks, right? So you're to outline the preparation and service. Therefore, you're not necessarily going to write a recipe, but what you're going to focus on is the method, or we may say the procedure of preparing this particular dish, right? So I would say go for suitability. Now, is your dish really a one-pot meal? You'll be marked based on that. Also, suitability, does it have all the components that are listed there? So you're required to use 3 foods. So if, for instance, you choose something for the root vegetable, am I seeing that vividly that there's a root vegetable included in your one pot meal, right? So go ahead and think about what you could prepare. Be creative, right? So consider it as you have, like, say, a mystery basket, and then you're entering a competition and you have 3 things to choose from to create a nice, exciting dish, right? So get excited with the question. So the name of the dish, ensure that you include the name of the dish. Pre-preparation activities, so ensure that what? You may mention that you wash, you may mention that you dice, you slice, whatever the case may be. And also ensure that you outline the steps in the preparation process, as well as how you garnish and serve. All right, now let us look at this sample answer that I have here for you, right? So the name of the dish that I have selected is what? Vegetable and shrimp rice cook-up. You may also have seasoned rice, or you may be creative with the name of your dish. All right, there's nothing wrong with that. So the name of my dish here is vegetable and shrimp rice cook-up, right? Now, preparation activities, I listed that I was going to wash, dice, chop, peel and slice vegetables and herbs, weigh and measure ingredients and set aside. So I got my pre-prep there. So I name my dish, that's 1 mark. I outline my pre-prep activities, that's another mark. Now I'm moving on to my procedure, that is also another mark, right? So let us see what I have here. Heat oil in a large pot on medium-high heat. Saute shrimp for 3 to 5 minutes, set aside. Add herbs and spices. Cook stirring constantly for 3 minutes. So I'm in the same pot, guys, right? Then I'm gonna add my carrot, which is my my root vegetable, and be sure that I add the shrimp there already. So that's 2 things. So I need to use 1 more thing. Good. So you may go over based on how creative you want your meal to be, but make sure that you don't go less than the required amount. Good. Next, I have add carrots, callaloo. There would be my vegetables, because you know that if you notice, root vegetable is listed from what? Regular vegetables. So when we see vegetables, you know, we're thinking of green, leafy, or yellow vegetables for that aspect, right? And for the root vegetable, I include here carrots. Based on what you are doing, you may include also yam. So anything that you dig from the ground, right? So anything that you take from the ground, guys, is actually a root vegetable. Good. Now, add vegetable broth. You could also add coconut juice or coconut milk, and top with Scotch bonnet pepper. Adjust seasoning if necessary. Cover pot and bring to a boil. Reduce heat to simmer for 15 to 20 minutes. Gently stir in sweet corn, green peas, and shrimp. So remember, I sauteed the shrimp earlier, so now I'm putting it back in there. Cover pot for 3 to 5 minutes until rice is tender. Ensure you mention that you garnish and also that you serve immediately, right? So ensure that you mention how you serve your item. Ensure you mention that you garnish it, and outline the procedures for creating your one-pot meal. Good. And also, if you want to include a list of ingredients that you have selected based on the category, that is even a plus, right? It makes your response more detailed, good, and outline. And remember that you also name your dish as well. All right, now we're skipping along and we're moving on to 2017. State 3 ways by which plain boiled rice could be more appealing, and that is what? 3 marks. Now the answer here is that we could what? Add addition of herbs. So for example, we could have dried parsley flakes. So we would have specks of say green in the rice, so it looks a little bit more appealing to the eye. Good. Also addition of spices. So you know that spices can change the color. For example, a little bit of turmeric can change the color of the rice to give yellow rice for some persons. We may also add vegetables such as pumpkin or mixed vegetables, and also garnishing as well. So you only need 3, so you can choose your favorite 3 to answer your question there. So your options are open. All right, 2016, list 3 types of butters. List 3 types of butters, 3 marks. So there is fritter butter, pouring butter, and also coating butter, right? So the 3 types of butters are fritter butter, pouring butter, and also coating butter. Now a question may also ask you what type of item is suitable for fritter butter. You know, fritters and muffins are always suitable for fritter butter. Pouring butter is an example, maybe like pancakes or cakes, and the coating butter is like when we're deep frying say chicken, or it may be fish. Now definition of a butter is a mixture of flour and liquid, usually combined with other ingredients such as eggs. The mixture can be beaten and stirred with a spoon and is of a pouring or dropping consistency. Good. So you may get to define a butter. You may also get to list the 3 types of butter and also suitable items or products that are made from these butters as well. Continuing with 2016, the following ingredients play an important role in yeast products. State 1 function of each ingredient as it relates to yeast products. That's 3 marks. So the three ingredients that came with this question are salt, sugar, and eggs. And you are responsible to state the function of at least one of these ingredients in yeast products, right? Now, as it relates to salt, and even though salt adds flavor, guys, it is very important for us to mention that it helps to control the rate of yeast growth. So the importance of salt in yeast products is that it helps to control the rate of yeast growth. So for example, so we're making bread and we don't have as much salt in it. You know what can happen? The yeast can overreact, the product will expand too quickly, and then it can collapse. The salt helps to control the rate of the yeast growth. So if there is too little salt in the product, such as it may be bread or whatever item that is that yeast product we're making, if there's too little salt, then the yeast can overreact, and guess what will happen? The product will expand too quickly and then collapse, right? And then we'll have a poor product. And if there's too much salt, the yeast growth can also be affected. It can be retarded, and then we'll not have that ideal or quality product that we're looking for, right? Now, sugar adds flavor. It contributes to color as well. Good. So we may speak of that browning. Good. And also it is a food for the yeast, right? So in order for the yeast to grow, to develop our product, we have to add sugar to the mixture so that the product can rise successfully. Good. There's also eggs. Now, eggs contributes to the structure of the product as well as it adds richness. All right. Let us move on to another question from 2016. Paul was required to prepare a fruit cake using the creaming method as part of his school-based assessment. Explain why Paul may use the following techniques to make the cake. Give a different reason in each case. So as we started off this session, we were looking at some different food preparation techniques that is important for you to know. Good. And as you can see outlined in this question, you must state how the purpose of these techniques. Good. There is sieving, creaming, whisking, and folding. Now, as it relates to sieving, the purpose is to separate and break up clumps in dry ingredients such as flour, as well as to aerate. Good. So we add air, we introduce air into the flour so that our products can be lighter as well. Good. Now, as it relates to creaming, the function of creaming is to soften the butter and to create a smooth, fluffy, and soft paste of the butter and also the sugar. Good. And also in the creaming process, some amount of air is also introduced into our product, but remember that we should give what? Different reasons for each technique. So we could not use aerate again for creaming. So it's best for us to use, it is softened it is creamed to form a softened paste of the butter and sugar, and also to cream out the sugar so that we don't have a lot of sugar grains in our product. Good. Now, whisking, the function is to incorporate air and aids in product expansion. So when we speak about our product rising, similar to aeration, good. There's also folding, and the purpose of folding is to what? To incorporate one substance, such as the liquid ingredient, into another substance without releasing air bubbles. So for instance, say we're making this fruit cake by the creaming method. Good. So after we have creamed our butter and our sugar, and we're moving on now to, we have added our eggs, and then we're moving on to probably adding our fruits and our flour mix and our other wet ingredients. We have to fold. So we gently fold so that we don't release all that air bubbles that was incorporated during the process of creaming, and as well as to ensure that there are no lumps in the product or the mixture, and to ensure even mixing, so all the ingredients can be combined without excess mixing and stirring, which will later develop gluten and we can have a hard product. All right, still on 2016, Paul observed the following faults in the finished cake. Explain one procedure that should have been used to prevent each fault from occurring. 6 marks. So the first fault, let's just look at the 3 faults. So 1, the fruits sank to the bottom of the cake. 2, the cake was sunk in the middle. And 3, the crust was crisp and sugary. Now let us look at one procedure that could prevent this from occurring, right? So the first one, fruit sank to the bottom of the cake. What do you think Paul could have done, guys? Tell me. Awesome. If your response was to cut the fruits into smaller pieces, right, and also to coat the fruits in flour, you're indeed correct, right? So those are 2 things that he could have done. Good. Next, the cake was sunk in the middle. So guess what happened? How many times have you been probably at school and you're so anxious that you're checking on your cake, or the teacher said to you, don't open the oven too often because the cake will fall? Or you may hear, don't open the oven to check on the cake until a certain amount of minutes because, all right? So avoid opening the oven door over and over again during the baking process, right? So what this does, this allows cool air to get in the oven, and this affects the way the cake bakes, and also to what? Preheat the oven to prevent this from happening. Good. So the next thing is the crust was crisp and sugary. What he could have done, ensure that the butter and sugar are creamed adequately and the accurate measurement of his ingredients. All right, now continuing with 2016 again. State how each of the following is used in food preparation. The first we have here is roux. What is roux? How is it that we use roux, right? Roux is a mixture of equal parts of starch. So it may be flour, guys, and fat. So it may be flour and butter that are cooked together, and then it is used as a thickener. So roux is a thickening agent for what? Soups, it can be stews, and also sauces. The next term that we're looking at is saute. Saute is a method of cooking food with a small amount of oil or fat at relatively high heat, which preserve the texture, moisture, and flavor of the food, right? And our next term here is what? Garnish, and it is used for decoration or embellishment of foods and or beverages. Good. They function as eye-appealing presentations. Good. All right, now let us move on to 2015, and the question reads, participants at a demonstration on making flaky pastry items observe the following practices. Discuss one effect that any 3 of the practices may have on the outcome of the finished products. And this is 6 marks, right? So the first thing that we're seeing here is lemon juice was added to the pastry. So why was lemon juice added? Lemon juice is added to flaky pastry to make the gluten in the flour more elastic. Good. If this is asked for rough puff pastry, it is basically the same response, right? Now, the elasticity is necessary as the gluten has to stretch a great deal in order to rise and form the structure of the flaky layers. Oven temperature was too low. What will happen? The product will have a dense or heavy texture, right? The pastry dough was stretched to cover the top of the pies and tarts. What will happen when we stretch the pastry dough? It will shrink. A fork was used to prick or make tiny holes on the cover of tarts and pies prior to baking. Now, what does this do? This allows the steam to escape so the pie crust doesn't puff up in the oven, right? Usually, this technique is used when blind baking a pie crust before we add the filling. All right. Now, let us look at the year 2014. Wayne is demonstrating how to make sweet flour-based products at a school event. List 2 icings or frosting that Wayne could use to decorate cakes. 2 marks. And our response here, we have buttercream frosting and also cream cheese frosting. All right, next question. Give one function of each of the following ingredients in cake making. So we have liquid, and the liquid may be milk or water. So what the liquid does is to help to raise the cake mixture by producing steam during baking, right? And as it relates to eggs, eggs add structure. Leavening, as it helps to trap air based on how it's incorporated into the product, and also color and flavor. The eggs naturally hold together the batter by keeping the fats and liquids combined, and helps create a smooth batter that creates volume. All right, now let us continue with 2014. Give 2 reasons why flour should be folded in the mixture when making a cake. 2 marks. So let us look at the reasons why we should not just pour in the flour, mix, then pour in the liquid ingredients and mix, right? Now let us look why flour should be folded. Now 1, it avoids breaking. Air bubbles you have worked so hard to put in the mixture, right? Especially if it is a sponge cake, right? When we're adding the flour, we have to be very, very careful of how we incorporate or how we fold in the rest of the flour, right? Now also, it also reduces gluten formation, because although this is vital to the structure of the cake, excessive beating creates too much gluten, resulting in a cake with a heavy, bready texture, right? Next question. Wayne added too much sugar while making a yeast dough. Explain one effect this is likely to have on the finished product. 2 marks. Now, while sugar and other sweeteners provide food for yeast, because we need the yeast to be activated, so we add the food, right? And that food is the sugar, right? Now, too much sugar can damage the yeast, drawing liquid from the yeast and hampering its growth, right? Now, too much sugar also slows down gluten development. Good. And in bread making or in yeast dough, gluten is very important in creating the structure of the baked yeast product. Good. Now let us look at some 2013 questions. First one, give one example of a herb and one example of a spice used in the preparation of food. 2 marks. So examples of spice we have here are nutmeg, black pepper or turmeric. That is 3 for you to choose. You just need 1. Good. And for herbs, we have thyme, dill, rosemary, and also chives. Next question. Sifting, rubbing in, and glazing are techniques used to make short crust pastry items. Outline how each technique is done, right? And here we have our food preparation techniques listed again. The first one here is sifting. Now it is a process that breaks up any lumps in the flour and aerates it at the same time. Good. Rubbing in, a technique where flour is rubbed into a fat using the fingertips. The flour and butter is rubbed together until the mixture resembles breadcrumbs, or fine or coarse depending on the recipe. Good. Now glazing refers to coating of a glossy, often sweet, sometimes savory substance that is applied to food, typically by dripping, dipping, or with a brush. Good. Now suggest why each technique is important in making short crust pastry items. 3 marks. Now sifting. It is important because it breaks up any lumps in the flour and aerates it, right? As it relates to rubbing in, it creates the distinct texture of a short crust pastry, as you know that the crumb is crumbly for a short crust pastry. And as it relates for glazing, what it does, it allows the product to be more moist and also to enhance the presentation of the product as well. Good. Now we're at 2009. Define the term bake blind. Now bake blind may be defined as the baking of pastry cases without any filling. Good. So for instance, you're making coconut gizzards and you would what? Bake the pastry shells first, and we'll prick those, and then we bake them, and afterwards we add the filling. Same as if you're making, say, pineapple cups as well, right? So remember that bake blind is actually baking the pastry case without any filling. Good. Next question. Eggs are often referred to as versatile food. Explain 2 ways in which eggs can be used in food preparation and give 1 example of the items that can be prepared in each case, right? And we have what? 4 marks here. So let us go. Eggs can be used as a binding agent. And an example of this is fish cakes. Good. Eggs can be used as an emulsifier. Example, mayonnaise or salad dressing. Eggs can be used as a coating agent. So if, for example, we're deep fat frying something, for example, zucchini fries, we may want to coat it a little flour, then we put it in the egg, then we add it to the what? To the breadcrumbs, right? So in that case, guys, eggs are used as a coating agent. All right. Now eggs can be used also as a leavening agent, right? So for examples, and when we speak of leavening agent, we're speaking of, we may say, the raising agent, right? So for example, it may be sponge cakes where the eggs are whipped so that air will be introduced and trapped, so those air bubbles will allow the product to rise. So example may include sponge cakes or popovers. All right. Now let us move into our final question, and it's also taken from 2009. It reads, after evaluation of a batch of cheese muffins made by your food and nutrition class, the students reported the following faults. Suggest 1 factor that may have contributed to each of the faults identified above. 2 marks. So 1, the muffins had large tunnels, and 2, the muffins had a poor flavor. Good. Now, as it relates to the muffins having large tunnels, one suggestion that could have caused or contributed to this problem is the overmixing of the batter. So overmixing of the batter, then the gluten will develop in those muffins, and therefore the finished products will what? Have large tunnels. Good. Now the muffins had a poor flavor. Now let us look at why this may be so. Now if the dry ingredients are not well mixed, there can be pockets or lumps of ingredients, especially leavening agents. Good. That can lead to bitter or off flavors. You're awesome. You've made it to the end of the session. Please remember to subscribe. Turn on your post notification bells so you can be notified when there's another upload. Watch those ads, leave a like, a comment, and also share with persons who you know will find this information useful. Thank you for making it Fairy's Tutorial.